Hey guys, I'm Mark from Spot and welcome to week 3 of the 2018-2019 Premier League review. If you are new to the series, what we do is we take a look at the past set of Premier League results, we take a look at the Premier League table, and we finish off by looking at the top goal scorers. So here is the past set of Premier League results. These games were played on Saturday the 25th, Sunday the 26th, and Monday the 27th of August 2018. Also next to the games are the times in this video, so if you want to hear about specific matches, go to the time next to the game and you'll skip out all the other crap, but without further ado, let's get into our first match. We start with Fulham versus Burnley. Fulham opened the scoring in the 4th minute when Jean-Michel Seri got his first goal for the Cottagers, and what a goal it was. Absolute belter. Seri cut the ball onto his right foot from outside the area and he absolutely smashes it from distance and it flies into the top corner, and I can say this with a straight face and would put money on it. No keeper in the world would have stopped that. But the lead won't last long as only 5 minutes later Burnley levelled it up through Jeff Hendrick. It came as Aaron Lennon made his way down the right hand side, put a cross into the box that the Fulham defenders failed to clear, and Jeff Hendrick prodded it home at the second time of asking. But Fulham retook the lead in the 36th minute when Aleksandar Mitrovic got his second goal of the season. Such a simple goal for Fulham as Tom Cairney put a ball into the box towards the Serbian and he was there to head home at the back post. And Fulham made it 3-1 2 minutes later when Mitrovic got his second goal in as many minutes. Another header for the striker and another good cross in as Luciano Vietto puts the ball in and Mitrovic nodded home beyond your heart. But it was a stunning finish to the first half as Burnley got back into it as they reduced the deficit to 1 only 3 minutes later. Another cross. Just seems that these teams just don't know how to deal with crossing in the box. A corner was whipped in by Burnley, Ben Mee flicked it on towards James Tarkowski and the defender slid it into Paul Combe. But Fulham wrapped the game up in the 82nd minute when they made it 4-2 as Andrea Schürrle got his first goal for his Loanee club. Aleksandar Mitrovic was on fire today. The big Serb cut in from the left hand side before curling a strike on goal that cannons off of the post. The ball then rebounded to Andrea Schürrle and the German put it home. And that's how the game ended, and what a game it was. A first win of the season for Fulham, a well-deserved one as well as they dominated Burnley in pretty much every stat available. Still some concerns for both teams. Like I said earlier, both of them seem to struggle with crosses into the box, and that's where most of the goals came from, if not all of them. Like I mentioned earlier, Mitrovic was on fire today. Another level in this game he was on. Fulham deserved the win mainly for Jean-Michel Seri's goal. That was absolutely unreal. Mitrovic could have scored a hat-trick and then more, but he had to settle for 2 as Fulham jumped out of the relegation zone and sent Burnley crashing into it. And we move on to Bournemouth versus Everton. It was 0-0 at the break, but we did get a bit of excitement in the first half as 5 minutes before the half-time break, Richarlison got a straight red card. He's been their best player this season and it's the second red card for Everton already. It was Richarlison and Adam Smith who were involved and they were having a battle pretty much the entire half, and it was just a bit of a daft red card, to be honest. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. It is violent conduct, but then again it was just really soft. Adam Smith and Richarlison went head to head, literally forehead to forehead. Then Richarlison does the headbutting motion, doesn't actually headbutt, he does flick his head. Adam Smith didn't go down like most players would, but he made sure that the ref knew what just happened. The referee did spot it anyway, and he did give him a straight red card. By the letter of the law, it is a red, and Richarlison did deserve it, but it was such a needless red card to give away. But despite being down to 10 men, Everton did take the lead 10 minutes in the second half when Theo Walcott scored for the second game in a row. Then Tosun laid it through to Theo Walcott, and despite being a veteran, he still has pace in the legs as he just burst down the middle into the box and smashed it past Asmir Begovic. But Everton wouldn't finish the match with a man disadvantage as Bournemouth also had a man sent off, and would you believe it, it was Adam Smith. Theo Walcott again burst on the right hand side, and just like Richarlison sending off, it's just really soft and quite needless. A kick from Jordan Pickford right up to Theo Walcott, who was through on goal. Adam Smith races alongside him, drags him down. I'd say it was a goal scoring opportunity. He made no attempt to play the ball and Adam Smith was shown a straight red card. And Everton doubled their lead 5 instead through centre-back Michael Keane. Bournemouth will be furious with this goal as they allowed Everton to take a free kick quickly and Gylfi Sigurdsson digged the ball into the box, and there was Michael Keane who looped his header over Begovic and into the back of the net for his first league goal for Everton. But Bournemouth would get a chance to get back into the game when they were given a penalty after Leighton Baines gave away just a clumsy spot kick. He basically ran into the back of Callum Wilson and the ref with no hesitation pointed to the spot. Joshua King stepped up to take it, and despite Pickford going the right way, he couldn't keep it out as King put it right in the corner. And Bournemouth levelled it up 5 minutes later as Nathan Ake got the goal. Another great turnaround for the horse, being 2-0 down to 2-2 in the space of 5 minutes. It came from Callum Wilson, who should have scored in this game, but I think he'll take this as his beautiful header from a corner smacked off of the crossbar, and there to sweep home the rebound was Nathan Ake. And that's how the game ended. Bournemouth yet again showing why they are one of the most resilient sides in this league. You can never count Bournemouth out. Since the start of last season, they've won 25 points from games that they have been losing in, which is more than any other team. They did it last week with West Ham, coming from 1-0 down to win 2-1, and this week coming from 2-0 down to grab a point. Some would argue they shouldn't have even gone down 2 in the first place after having a man advantage. It's just one of those instances of the team with less players being the better side. Everton will be furious that they let a good lead slip, but Bournemouth picked up a hard-fought point. And we move on to Manchester United versus Tottenham. It was goalless at the break, but it wasn't as boring as you'd think it'd be. It was quite an entertaining game, back and forth action, chances for both teams, but United did have the better chances of the half, and whether it was poor finishing or good goalkeeping, they just couldn't find a way through. They also started the second half quite quickly as well, but to everyone's surprise, including mine, Tottenham took the lead 5 minutes into the second half. Having broke his August curse last week, he's broke his Man United curse this week as Harry Kane got the goal, and it was quite a simple one as well. A corner whipped into the middle from Kieran Trippier. Harry Kane loses his man far too easily and loops his header over the defence and the keeper and into the back of the net. And Tottenham doubled their lead just 2 minutes later when Lucas Moura silenced Old Trafford. No one was picking up Christian Eriksen as he had far too much time and space and was just able to pick out the run of Lucas Moura, who was running in from deep, and he slotted it into the bottom corner. And Tottenham put the game beyond any doubt in the 85th minute when they made it 3-0 as Lucas Moura got his second of the night. It came as Harry Kane had the ball and he played it to Lucas. He turns on the afterburners to leave Chris Smalling in his dust. Smalling tries to lunge in and win the ball, but it ricochets off of Lucas and lands nicely for him, and the Brazilian is one-on-one with David De Gea and he fired it past him. And as the game ended, Man United are looking in turmoil right now. The Mourinho third season curse seems to be happening again. Like I said earlier, United will kick themselves that they weren't ahead at the break, with Romelu Lukaku missing an open net when it was goalless. A great second half for Tottenham, and maybe Man United need to park the bus home and away because they didn't sit as deep as you'd expect. They tried to play a high line, but their defence is looking shakier than ever, and this 3-0 win for Tottenham is the heaviest home defeat that Jose Mourinho has ever had. And we move on to Arsenal versus West Ham. West Ham took the lead of the Emirates in the 25th minute when Marko Arnautovic got the goal with West Ham's first shot on target. Some more suspect defending from Arsenal this season. It's just too easy for West Ham. Arnautovic and Felipe Anderson play 1-2 before Arnautovic swept it home from the edge of the area. There was about 6 Arsenal defenders around them, but they just don't put a foot in. It's just ridiculous. But the lead wouldn't last long as only 5 minutes later Arsenal levelled it up through what seems to be their only reliable player, Nacho Monreal. It was a 2 fullbacks doing the attack and work for the Gunners as they worked the ball down the right hand side. It ended up with Hector Bellerin, who put a low cross into the box right in front of the goal. The ball was flicked away, but only to Nacho Monreal, who powered it in. And Arsenal took the lead for the first time this season as Issa Diop put the ball into his own net. It was a scrappy one as Nacho Monreal kept the ball alive. Aaron Ramsey headed it into the box for Alexandre Lacazette, who brought it down, and it looked like his cross was aimed for Pierre Aubameyang, but it ends up hitting Issa Diop on the chest and deflecting into his own net. And Arsenal wrapped the game up in the 90th minute when Danny Welbeck made it 3-1. Pretty poor defence from West Ham. What I like about this goal is what Unai Emery was doing on the touchline. At the start of the move, he was literally telling his players where to pass, and when he got them in the space, they did the rest. As Mkhitaryan played it to Hector Bellerin, he held it up before placing the ball through the legs of a West Ham defender into an unmarked Danny Welbeck on the penalty spot. He then turned and slammed it home. And as the game ended, Arsenal picked up their first point and win in the Unai Emery era. Let's be completely honest, Arsenal still look shaky at the back. Hector Bellerin, I don't know who decided he was a fullback. He's quite clearly a right winger. He has no interest to get back. Attacking wise, he's pretty good. Defensively, he is shocking. Arsenal starting to play out from the back with Mustafi and Socrates going either side of Cech to get the ball, but West Ham were able to stop that from happening far too often. Also, Bellerin and Monreal were pushed up far too high at times, which also gave West Ham a lot of space on the wings, and that actually led to the first goal. But then again, having the fullback pushed up was the reason that they got the equaliser. Just don't play Hector Bellerin as a right back. Still room for improvement for Arsenal, but they are up and running under Emery, and as West Ham still wait for their first points under Pellegrini. And we move on for Newcastle versus Chelsea. Pretty boring game this one, especially in the first half. Nothing happened. I turned over at the Fulham versus Burnley game because that game was unreal and was on at the same time. Chelsea had more of the ball, but they couldn't seem to find any space behind the Newcastle defence, but they did get the perfect chance to take the lead in the 76th minute when they were given a penalty. Fabian Schär was adjudged to have fouled Marcus Alonso in the box and the ref pointed to the spot. Very harsh penalty. Seems like he won the ball and he's been hard done by. Yeah, let's just go all out. It was a dive. Yeah, let's just put my balls. Let's just put my balls. I'd say that was a dive. Eden Hazard stepped up to take it on his first start of the season, and he slotted it past Martin Dubravka. But the lead didn't last too long, as only 5 minutes later, Newcastle levelled it up through Joselu. For some reason, Olivier Giroud was filling in at left back, and he feels like he was elbowed off the ball, but there was absolutely nothing in it. DeAndre Yedlin put a ball towards the near post, and there running across his man was Joselu, who flicked his header home. But Chelsea retook the lead a few minutes later when DeAndre Yedlin inadvertently put the ball into his own net. Newcastle are the doers of their own demise as the Geordies failed to clear the ball and it dropped to Marcus Alonso inside the box. The wing-back fired a low volley towards goal that took a massive deflection off of Yedlin and it ricocheted into his own net. And that was the game ended. Chelsea make it 3 out of 3 for new boss Maurizio Sarri. Chelsea were a bit lucky in this one, I feel. Yes, they did outplay Newcastle, but both of their goals were quite lucky. A penalty that really shouldn't have been given, and an own goal. Newcastle were resilient at the back. You could say they parked the bus, which, could be expected with the big boys coming to town, but they couldn't hold on for a draw as Chelsea picked up the win. And we move on to Southampton versus Leicester. Southampton took the lead 5 minutes in the second half when Ryan Bertrand scored a beauty on his 150th appearance for the Saints. The ball was pulled across the box by Højbjerg. Not sure he was looking for Bertrand, but the ball does roll to the wide man and he lets fly from just outside the box and it flew into the top right corner. But the lead won't last long as almost instantly Leicester levelled it up through Demarai Gray. With Vardy suspended, it's what the Foxes would have wanted to see Iheanacho and Gray combining as Iheanacho dinked the ball into the area. Cedric fails to clear it and it falls to Gray, who fired home at the near post. And Southampton would have to play the final 10 minutes with 10 men as Pierre-Emile Højbjerg was shown a second yellow for diving. He drove into the box, went down, absolutely no contact. Clear dive, ref spotted it and fair play to him, he was having none of it and showed him a second yellow and sent him off. And Leicester won the game with one of the final kicks of the match as King Slabhead Harry Maguire scored a screamer. Known for his boot of a head at the World Cup, but this goal was actually with his boot. Who would have thought? As he drove in from the left hand side and fired a low shot from outside of the box into the bottom left corner. And that's how the game ended after a dismal first half. Thankfully it picked up a lot in the second. We hear a lot about teams struggling away from home, but it's the exact opposite for Southampton, who have won once at home this year. Leicester may have picked up the win, but it was a less than great performance from the Foxes, who seemed to struggle without their talisman Jamie Vardy. Southampton enjoyed a lot of the ball in the first half, but Leicester did improve a little bit in the second half, as Leicester boss Claude Puel walked away from his old stomping ground with a win for the second time in a row. And we move on to Watford versus Crystal Palace. It was a scrappy first half. Foster kept Watford in the game, making some good saves, and Palace would have been kicking themselves in the dressing room that they weren't ahead at the break. And Watford would make Palace kick themselves even harder 5 minutes into the second half as they took the lead when Roberto Pereira got his third goal in as many games. Etienne Capoue, we'll talk about him later, he dances through the Crystal Palace midfield and then plays it out wide to Roberto Pereira. The Argentine then drops Andros Townsend with a shuffle, opens his body and curls a low shot into the far corner. And Watford doubled their lead on the 17-minute mark when Jose Holebas scored a belter. He didn't mean it, not at all, and if he ever says he does, he's chatting out of his arse. Holebas picked up on the left hand side. It looks like he's aiming for Troy Deeney at the back post, but there's too much curl in it for Deeney, but it just goes flying towards goal, past Wayne Hennessy and into the top right corner. But Palace would get away back into it 7 minutes later when Wilfried Zaha reduced the deficit to 1. Max Meyer was only on the pitch for a couple of minutes, and one of his first touches of the ball is starting a Palace counter-attack as they charge forward with Patrick van Aanholt. He fails to get a good shot on goal, but Palace kept it alive as Meyer slid it through to Zaha on the left hand side, who came forward and smashed it through the legs of Ben Foster. And that's the game ended, Watford making it 3 wins out of 3 at the start of the season, and Watford fans might be starting to dream of possibly sneaking into Europe this season. We saw it happen with Burnley last season, so why not Watford? Palace weren't unfortunate not to be ahead at the break, but as I mentioned, fair play to Ben Foster who kept his side in it. Watford were lucky to still have 11 players on the pitch though, as Capoue could have and really should have been sent off when he stamped on the Achilles of Wilfried Zaha, and Palace will feel hard done by that. But a wonder goal from Jose Holebas means that Watford have won their opening 3 games of a top flight season for the first time ever. And we move on to Wolves versus Manchester City. It was goals at the break, but not for lack of trying for both teams. Wolves did have the ball in the net on the 20-minute mark, but it was ruled out for offside, and Raheem Sterling went close for the visitors, but was denied by a world-class save from Rui Patricio. But we did get the opening goal in this one in the 57th minute when Willy Bolly opened the scoring for Wolves. It came from a corner that was played short. It's played back to Moutinho, who sends a great cross into the box, and there to nod it home was Bolly. Actually, it was handball. He didn't mean it, but the ball is extremely low, so he's basically crouched down trying to meet it with his head. He misses it with his head, but as it's dropping, it hits his wrist, goes into the back of the net. Can't really blame the referee or linesman for missing it because it was so difficult to spot that not even any Manchester City players were appealing for it. But Man City did level it up 10 minutes later when Emerick Laporte got his first league goal for Manchester City. It was a bullet header, and it was actually a header this time. Ilkay Gundogan floated a lovely free kick into the box. It looked like it was being dragged towards the big centre-back's head as he rises highest and thumps it home. And that's how that match ended. This was a great game to get the weekend started. The championship winning side from last season held their own against the Premier League champions, and it was a well-deserved point for Wolves. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like Man City looked quite poor in this game. On his 250th Premier League appearance for the Blues, and basically on his 10-year anniversary, Vincent Kompany looked shaky as hell. Not the quality you expect from one of the leading Premier League centre-backs of the past decade. Man City will rue the missed chances that they had, that Raheem Sterling chance I mentioned earlier, and then with the final kick of the game, Sergio Aguero hit the bar from a free kick. A couple of inches lower and it was a winner for City, but a resilient, hard-fought point for Wolves, and City's 100% winning start to their title defence season came to an end. And we move on to Liverpool versus Brighton. Liverpool took the lead in the 23rd minute when Mo Salah got his second of the season. James Milner did well to win the ball back high up the pitch from Yes Bissouma. It's then lovely quick one-time pass from the front three as Mane gives it to Firmino, who moves it onto Salah, and the Egyptian curls it from the edge of the box into the bottom left corner. And that's how the game ended. A pretty boring game from Anfield, with Liverpool not being able to create a lot of chances against a well-organised Brighton defence. In fact, one of the only other highlights of the match was when Alisson, the Liverpool goalkeeper, chipped it over Anthony Knockaert and sent him for his weekly shot. That was genuinely it. Brighton was clearly still bouncing from the win over Man United last week and were full of desire and confidence at Anfield. It's the match that Liverpool had to grind out, and they did what they had to do as Liverpool continue to be the only team yet to concede a goal this season. And finally, we've got Huddersfield versus Cardiff. It was a pretty dire game, but like pretty much all of the Premier League matches from Saturday, there was a red card. Huddersfield got this one as Jonathan Hogg was given his marching orders. Hogg was just a bit of a bell end in this situation though. Corner comes in. Hogg has basically got Harry Arter in a bloody full Nelson. How the ref didn't spot that is beyond me. Arter goes down for a penalty. Rightly so. He's got every right to go down there. He's being choked pretty much. Hogg was annoyed at that for some reason. Arter gets back up, confronts Hogg. The head comes together. Someone grabs the other's face, and then Hogg aggressively moved his head towards Arter, who then goes down. The referee didn't spot any of this because Huddersfield were actually on the counter-attack, so he was keeping his eye on the ball, which, is correct. It wasn't until he turned around, or someone must have said something in his ear, he went over and have a word. Obviously, he didn't see it, so he went over and had a word with his linesman, and after a discussion, he went back over, showed Harry Arter a yellow card, but showed Jonathan Hogg a straight red, and it's a correct decision, I'd say. And as the game ended in a game where not much happened, the red card for Huddersfield really changed the game for them. They had a lot more possession with the full 11 on the pitch, but they were forced to shore up at the back following the red. Both sets of players looked frustrated at the final whistle as none of them could find the goal that would have given them the first wins of the season, and at the end it was another goalless draw for Cardiff. Right, so that's all the games I've got for you this week. Before we go, let's take a look at the Premier League table and top goal scorers, starting off with the Premier League table. Start with top 5, and as you can see, Liverpool are at the top on goal difference after they narrowly beat Brighton. Tottenham are second after slapping up Man United. Chelsea are third after beating Newcastle. Watford are fourth after recalling their best ever start to a top flight season after making it 3 wins out of 3 against Crystal Palace. And Man City make up the top 5 following a draw with Wolverhampton. Moving on to the bottom 5, and West Ham are at the bottom, being the only team that haven't picked up a point this season. Huddersfield are 19th after a goalless draw with Cardiff. Burnley make up the relegation zone after a loss to Fulham. Southampton are 17th after their late loss to Leicester, and Newcastle make up bottom 5 after losing to Chelsea. Moving on to top goal scorers, and would you look at that? Everyone is on 3 goals. Isn't that nice to see? I think it's based on minutes per goals if they're still tied. So they're all joint first, but it's Richarlison at the top. Next is Sergio Aguero. Thirdly is Lucas Moura after his double against United. Sadio Mane is 4th, and Roberto Pereira of Watford makes up the top 5 after a goal against Crystal Palace. Right, so that's all I've got for you this week. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll be back at 4 PM next Tuesday for the next episode of the Premier League Review. To stay up to date about when we go live or upload a video, it would be best to follow us on Twitter. The link to that is in the description, or it's at portionofsport_. If you missed last week's episode, that'll be popping on your screen now, along with a link to the channel so you can subscribe. But anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. I've been Mark from A Portion of Sport, and I will see you soon.